whenever you develop spiritual aspiration and become aware of what is Dharma, what is Adharma, and when that struggle begins to operate within you in a sincere way and you are led by satsanga and sadhana, if that happens, God incarnates. Two movements commence. Ārohana, Avatāraṇa. Your soul begins to climb steps higher and higher. God begins to descend to touch you, encourage you, and lead you in that process. Om Nilambuja Shyamalkomalangam Sita Samaropita Vamabhagam Pāṇau Maha Sayaka Charu Chapam Namami Rāmam Raghuvanshanatham. Adorations to Rāma, whose complexion is like a blue lotus. He's very tender and delightful in appearance. Sita is seated on his left side and is carrying a powerful bow and arrow in his hands. It's Balakanda in Tulsi Ramayana, also known as Sri Rāmcaritmānas. And we are moving towards verse number 121. That's the reference points. Presently, Lord Shiva commences narrating the Rāmāyaṇa before Parvati Devi. That's the setting. So therefore, you must realize the authenticity of it is beyond imagination. Because the listener and the one who is teaching, both are the highest. Also remember, in Rāmāyaṇa, there are different teachers. For example, Yajnavalkya teaches Bharadwaj. Shiva teaches Kakabhushundi. Kakabhushundi teaches Garuda. That's the style of the Hindu scriptures. It's presented always as story within story. Also, it presents always a kind of a spiral. You are entered into a temple and you come to one spiral, everything looks the same when you get to the other spiral. One spiral story is being told by 1% of guru and disciple. Another spiral story is being told by another level of guru and disciple. And all this go together to form the Rāmāyaṇa, which implies that Rāmāyaṇa can touch every aspect of your personality, fulfill every spiritual need. Rāma atarkya buddhiman bana bāni matah mārasa sunahi sayani. O wise Parvati, Hindi word sayani. When people act childish way, they are scolded. Sayan ho jao. grow up. So Parvati Devi is already Sayani, grown up. Okay, let me not get into jokes. Rama is beyond the range of intellect, beyond speech, manasa vacha, beyond mind, beyond intellect. And that point you have to always understand. When we think of God, attaining God realization, your mind always visualizes what would be, what it will be. But any concept that you have doesn't exactly match up with how it is. And that's good news. Brahman doesn't come as a concept of mind. Otherwise, Brahman will be countless. And I will not lead you further. Upanishads go on giving you abundant of reasoning to understand that Brahman, the Absolute, is beyond mind, intellect, ego. Even when you say Brahman is Satcitānanda, that's the best your intellect can do. But if your intellect is satisfied with the definition, it's a dull wit. Because what you are imagining through your intellect to be the highest level of experience, Satchidananda. That's just like you imagine that in a certain part of the world, if you were there by the ocean, in a nice hotel, and peacocks were around you, how wonderful it would be. But what you are imagining is not exactly as if you are actually there. So all your imagination is blown away. But then imagination helps you. It becomes a means. It urges you in a divine way to attain what the imagination is indicating. So that Rama is beyond all mental concepts. Tadapi Santa Muni Veda Pūrṇa. In spite of this, saints do not come in this big satsanga, with a conference of so many such parents. He says, I'm going to tell you the profoundest thing. Brahman alone is. Hari Om Tat Sat. So therefore, in spite of the fact that Brahman alone is, saints and sages bring the teaching to match up with the different levels of spiritual evolution in the aspirants. So all sons, sages, munis, Vedas, Puranas, all scriptures, they all bring out the profound teaching to lead souls towards the attainment of liberation. And souls are not in one level. Therefore, you hear these teachings in countless ways. One teaches focusing on the mind. Another teaches focusing on your willpower. Another teaches focusing on your feeling. So there are broad distinctions. Follow karma yoga, bhakti yoga, dhyana yoga, jnana yoga. And I've just put it in 4 fingers, but these 4 multiply to thousands. Tasmai sumukhi suvasunāvaṁ hi samuji paraijasa karanamohi. O Sumukhi is a compliment, word of compliment. How wonderful your face is. More literally, how beautiful is your mouth. Mukh, Sumukh. Go further to understand it. What comes out of your mouth, if not always onion garlic type, if it is inspiring, if it serves a divine purpose, will look up to your lips. And also, whatever you draw into your mouth, ahara shuddhau sattva shuddhi, mouth becomes a symbolic, allegorical term. So all your intakes are the food you are taking. What you hear, what you touch, how you feel, associations, as well as your very physical food that you take. If they are sattvic, your mind becomes purified. Ahara shuddhau sattva shuddhi. Sattva shuddhau dhruva smriti. If mind becomes purified, that mind does not dwell upon unnecessary, useless garbage. All things that worry your mind is big garbage. Though I'm telling quickly, it is not an easy job. It's a lifelong challenge. But allow your mind to understand that it's the garbage. Don't grab the garbage. So if that garbage moves away from your mind, you become aware that you are divinely connected. Your potentiality is not limited by your body-mind complex. Your actual living process is not confined to the world of time and space. In brief, you are a ray of God with infinite possibility. That type of faith and trust and the joy must arise in your heart. In the beginning, they may arise just like little sparks. It doesn't matter. Even a little spark is much better than no spark. So, ahara shuddhau sattva shuddhi, sattva shuddhau dhruva smriti. If the garbage is removed from your mind, then you are not recalling things that happened in your childhood, counting those who have been enemies. There are so many unnecessary. I can go on with the details, but I'm stopping. Your memory process goes after. How wonderful. God, who gave this whole body, mind with such intelligence. The same hand that has shaped all this nature. And every little item of this nature is filled with divine wisdom. So, that type of memory begins to enter, urging you to do more bhajan, good bhojan, chintan. And it results in dhruva smriti, absolute recall. Aham brahmasmi. Dhruva smritau sarvagranthīnām vipramoksha. The result is all the knots of the heart, they are cut down. No more naughtiness. जब जब होई धर्म के हानि, बाढ़हि असुर अधम अभिमानी. Whenever there is decline of virtue and the rise of demoniac forces, God incarnates. This statement is not easy to understand. And countless devotees follow it very literally. And they're looking for, when is the next incarnation? Their whole life goes into that, when is he coming? As if that's the solution to all human problems. No incarnation was the solution to all human problems. And again, just turn your mind to understand. Jesus was a tremendously divine personality, but many undivine people existed along with him, and they didn't change. And that applies again during Rama time, Krishna time. All didn't become liberated. But that's all that I'm leading you. Firstly, to understand the spiritual movement is not history. How things have happened in the past, that have no bearing upon you unless you draw some lesson from it. Now, coming to a very brief statement, whenever you develop spiritual aspiration and become aware of what is Dharma, what is Adharma, and when that struggle begins to operate within you in a sincere way, and you are led by satsanga and sadhana, if that happens, God incarnates. Two movements commence. Ārohana and Avatāraṇa. Your soul begins to climb steps higher and higher. God begins to descend to touch you, encourage you, and lead you in that process. In every individual, that process goes on. But if you are just interested in history and masses, that's not really the purpose of spiritual scriptures. But masses and what's happening in the world always impacts your mind. So don't worry about the world. The world has gone through many terroristic situations. Just like in weather conditions, low pressure develops and it is corrected by the wind blowing hurricane. Hurry comes with a tail. So don't worry about the world. Whenever there is dharma ki hani, loss of dharma in mass level, there is a divine way of correcting it, and it goes on happening. Karahi aniti jayi nahi barani, sidahi vipradhenu suradharani. Listen to the profound allegorical presentation. Whenever Brahmins, cows, gods, and the earth, the mother earth, are put into torture, taba taba prabhu dharitri vivid sarira. So whenever it happens, God enters into embodiment of different types. Karahi kripa nidhi sajjana pira, harahi kripa nidhi sajjana pira, and sufferings that are experienced by the masses, especially sufferings of the devotees. Those sufferings are wiped out, removed by God's incarnation. Now comes I'm just not feeding your imagination. Hearing this, people begin to remember their cows, pet cows, where they are. Have I given them sufferings? Priests, Brahmins, have I displeased gods? Have I kicked the earth abruptly? I'm joking. Without going into details, simple meaning. Dharani, earth, is action, karma yoga. That's your basic footing, karma. If your karmic movement doesn't have a right purpose, then your dharani, earth, mother, is in distress. Next, sur, your life movement. When it has been the backing of good feeling, divine feeling, your life movement is like a dance and music. You are in sur. But when demoniac qualities begin to develop, you are always in asur. Good things have developed, but it doesn't bring you a melody in your mind. jars your mind. Why did it develop in America, in there? It should have developed here. Win a big lottery. Why didn't I win it before? Now I don't have the digestion to eat. Surya in you is being distressed and corrected by bhakti, the yoga. Next point, dhenu. Just like milk nourishes you, practice of dhyāna nourishes, gives you deepest nourishment. You begin to drink the milk of the Upanishads and begin to assimilate it. Upanishads are the cows. And you don't allow yourself to be nourished by the cows, then the cows are in distress. They have lots of milk and they feel a lot of pain. Lovingly, the milk is going to be given to those who are spiritual aspirants. All this allegorical. Vipra term is Jñāna movement. Jñāna that brings the profoundest teachings of the Upanishads and guides you on the path of wisdom. In other words, Vipra relates to Jñāna. Dhenu, cows, relate to Dhyāna, meditation. Sur, godly movement relates to Bhakti. And Prithvi, pleasing the earth, relates to karma. Karma, bhakti, dhyana, and jnana. These are the greatest factors in every personality. And that's the way the entire creation has been rigged by God. So if you follow yoga in your life, that's the definition of religion by the Vedas. But all over the world, the word religion itself, most people don't know it, is synonym of yoga. Relegare. Yoga is union. And union in an allegorical way. You're not really joining with God, but discovering that you are God, essential. And the word religion, legare, is legation, blending together, implying you were essentially blended with God. Find yourself separated. Relegare, religion. Parsu dharma. Jato dharma, tato jaya. So that's the profound insight into God's incarnation. Whether you study it in a broad way, applying to the masses, which is only a distraction of mind. The real study, how does it apply to you? It is that counts. असुर मारि था पहि सुरन राखहि निज श्रुति सेतु जग विस्तारहि विशद जस राम जन्म कर हेतु. Now, giving a storyline. Having incarnated, the divine incarnation, the purpose is to destroy the demons and protect the Vedic wisdom and spread the divine glory. So, if you are studying any incarnation, developing devotion to God's incarnation, Rama, Krishna, whosoever, you begin to look at the world with a different view. You begin to see the divine yasha, the glory of God, expressing through the objects of the world. And that's a highly mystical, psychological trick has been played by sages. Let me elaborate that point. When you see a bird that has blue neck, Nilakantha, you remember Shiva. You see a monkey, you remember Hanuman. Even there are squirrels that have marks on their back. And the story connects itself to Rama's building the bridge. Even the squirrels wanted to help Rama. And Rama patted their back. The stories are not brought to your mind from a factual point of view, but allegorical point of view. All these stories are like poetry. And that's, in other words, if Rama's avatar, his avatar is taking place in your heart, the world around you brings to your ears or your senses boundless glory of God. The same word that becomes a source of boundless torture and horror for the masses. And they are addicted. If it doesn't happen, day passes with boredom. But bring a change in you. If your avatara has started taking place, the world is filled with God's kirti. Everything is speaking of God's glory. Sun shines, God is effulgent. Pole star stays stable. God is like pole star. I'm giving some little items. This is elaborated in the Gita as Vibhuti Yoga. So the world itself that you live in becomes a profound temple and miracle of miracles. People who seem to be the worst in actual interaction, human mind gets more mud relating to human beings. But your mind reaches to that state, that may have sangidam. Human beings are marvel of marvels. But because you are not ready, therefore, your mind is directed towards many other things. Consider the lilies of the field. How do they grow? Consider a human being. How does he grow? There is a million times greater kirti operating in human being. at this stage. There will be no end. But I'm giving you the high ideal. Jag vistarahim vishadajas. So every avatara, as you read profoundly, allows your mind to look at the world that's inspiring. You look at the cows and remember Krishna, how he worked with those cows. And the many stories of Rama and Krishna are as if spread out in the world. And then again, from another angle, you actually read those stories in your family, your children enjoy those stories. Your own mind enjoys them. Whether you are grown up enough, that depends upon your spiritual evolution. But you are being given all the materials needed for your real spiritual advancement. Rāma janam ke hetu aneka, parama vichitra ekate eka. Coming in the storyline. Divine incarnations have, each incarnation has a story. Why did God incarnate? And every story gives you a mystic insight into profound spiritual psychology. Janam ek dui kahun bakhani, savadhana sun sumati bhavani. O Bhavani, Parvati, another qualification for her is Sumati. Mati is understanding, good understanding. And that's the greatest blessing that can be given to any human being. Sabko sanamati de Bhagavan. Because when you have sanamati, you become absolutely independent, not dependent upon anything in the world. Because you discover you are not the body, not the mind, you are soul. And as a soul, you are one with God. All this becomes the source of your inspiration. And it is an aspect of vivek buddhi, intuitive intellect. Dwarapal harike priya do, jai aru vijay jana sabko. Now, directing your attention to one of the many stories presented by the scriptures. Stories are stories. Now, the story is Sanat Kumāras. They are 4 brothers, and they are enlightened. From Brahma, again, storyline. These 4 emanated from Brahma. And Brahma looked at them with the idea that they will create the world. They will help in creation. But these 4 were not interested. So Brahma had to work harder. The names are Sanak, Sanandan, Sanat Kumar, Sanat Sujat. Storyline. Each one has SS. Sa is Satyam. These 4 relate to enlightened mind process. 4 aspects of the mind. Mana, buddhi, chitta, ahamkar. Chitta, unconscious. Intellect, buddhi, ego, mind, four-aspected mind in enlightened state, allegorically have been presented as four children. And these four, in storyline, want to come close to Lord Hari. But the gatekeepers of Lord Vishnu, their names are Jaya and Vijaya. Jaya is victory. Vijaya is special victory. Attain success in the world of relativity. That's Jaya. Allow sattva to develop, punya karmas, and attain profound success. Profound success will imply that you will switch your attention from the world to liberation. So that's Jaya movement. Vijaya, turn your attention to liberation. Absolute victory. Because any attainment in the world, see, any great attainment, it implies you have overcome obstacles. You have attained victory. But that victory is one level. It is not the absolute. Because as long as you are conditioned by the world, you are going to come back into the world. So it is not the ideal victory. But as long as you are not qualified, Jaya, Jaya ho. Implying, let there be Vijaya. Now, that qualification becomes the target at this stage of the story. Sanat Kumāras do not come to Vishnu because of these two factors. Jaya and Vijaya are sick. Neither you know how to attain success in the practical world, nor in the world of spirituality. If that has happened, these four children, they suffer. And as if they curse, because they are going to be overpowered. They must see Vishnu. How dare Jaya and Vijaya, the wrong concepts of victory, oppose them. Now, therefore, Sanat Kumāras curse. May you become demons. And in each demoniac incarnation, God will cut you down. 3 times you will have to become demons. 3 times God will incarnate and destroy. That's one type of story from one tradition. And these 3 times are, we'll soon see it. Viprashapate donau bhai, tamasa asura dehati napai. Now these 2 brothers, Jaya and Vijaya, they became Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. You have to go into the stories. As Hiranyaksha, the demon grabbed the whole earth, drew it down into the nether world. All practical values were degraded. So it is an unconscious, a profound development, negative development in deep unconscious. He was destroyed by God, who incarnated as a big hog, Vara avatar. It serves the double purpose. The mystic purpose that you have to go on figuring out. Human practical purpose, do not develop crude feeling towards animals that will remove your garbage. Example, hogs, pigs. Because God himself appeared as in the pig class. Not pig, it's big. And another incarnation, God appeared as Narsingha Bhagavan to save Prahlad, his devotee. And in that process, he destroyed Hiranyakashipu. Vijayi Samara Veera Vikhyata Dharibaraha Papu Ek Nipata. That Hiranyaksha was a great hero. God incarnating in the body of a big hog destroyed Hiranyaksha. And same God appearing in the form of Hoinara Haridu Saram Punimara Jana Prahlada Sujasa Vistara as Narasingha, man lion, he destroyed Hiranyakashipu and thereby allowed the glory of Prahlad to spread all over the world. The glory of his devotee. Same Jaya and Vijaya became Kumbhakarna and Ravana. Bhaye Nishachar Jaite Mahabhir Balavan Kumbhakarna Ravana Subhat Surabijayi Jagajan. They became Ravana and Kumbhakarna, who overpowered gods and became extremely powerful. The whole world knows about them. And as Rama, the whole Ramayana is focused on that story. The other set happened in Krishna avatar. The Ramayana doesn't even mention it. These two are incarnated as Shishupal and Dantavakra. And Lord Krishna destroyed. Mukutana bhaye hate hanu bhagavana teen janma dvij bachana pravana. In one embodiment, they didn't attain the relief. They had to go through 3 embodiments, being cut down in 3 times. 3 is important to understand. It's Manonash, Vasanakshaya, Tattvagyan. Manonash, destroying the The default of the mind that causes embodiments is raga, dvesha, attachment and hatred. So when you overcome this influence of attachment and hatred and allow your mind to swim in the ocean of serenity, manonash takes place. Next stage, vasana kshaya. Your vasanas that are in the subconscious, they undergo purification. Shubha vasanas dominate over your ashubha vasana. Daivi sampat develops, divine qualities develop in you, and the asuri sampat, the undivine qualities, are subjugated by the divine qualities. That's the second step. And finally, tattva jnana, the knowledge of the self. Intellect becomes intuitional, tears the veil of ignorance, like the sun rises and darkness in totality is cut down. So, these Jaya and Vijaya that have defaulted, now their default is corrected in 3 stages. Now life moves with Jaya. If you have profound divine attunement, you live with immense success. Janaka lived, creates a tremendous kingdom and showed all his glory and power. But he was not attached to this entire kingdom. His whole mind was to give rise to Sita, Viveka Buddhi, and let Viveka Buddhi marry Rama. So that's the description of Jaya. Live in the world, but don't be worldly. This opens the door to Vijaya. Now your whole inner movement is focused on attaining liberation. And liberation is your ultimate, the absolute success, Vijaya. We'll hold off at this stage. We're not moving fast. Om Pūrṇamadaḥ Pūrṇamidam Pūrṇāt Pūrṇamudachyate Pūrṇasya Pūrṇamadaya Pūrṇamevāvaṣiṣyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.